Good evening, members of council, ladies and gentlemen, staff. I see that we have quorum, and I call this meeting for the Town of Pelham Priorities and Policy Committee to order. It's been moved by Councillor Durley that the agenda for the May 22nd, 2018 committee regular meeting of committee be adopted. Any changes to the agenda? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. I didn't use the word P&P. Is that all right? Now we move to disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. Do any members have any conflicts of interest they need to disclose? No. Can that be so noted? On to new business. It's been moved by Councillor King. Be it resolved that the Community Planning and Development Department report for 1611 and 1613 Lookout Street, file number DA0617, be received. And the committee recommend that council approve the bylaw authorizing the mayor and clerk to enter into a development agreement with Kaiser and Associates, Inc. and Jasper Michael Pella regarding 1611 and 1613 Lookout Street. Questions, comments? So this is, Ms. Weens, this is a condition of severance. Or can you give us this, like this has to be approved by council, I guess, at our next meeting to make the 1 year time frame. So what's the status of the other conditions? Are you at liberty to inform committee?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, through you, there were a couple of other conditions. Now, some of them have been wrapped up into the development agreement that relate to the preparation of engineering design drawings for the improvements to the road and the extension of the water and sanitary to service these. Those drawings have been reviewed by our public works staff, and they are satisfied with the proposed works. There's also a condition that he is required to demolish one of the buildings that straddles the property line, so he's made application for the demolition permit. And there's a condition that they sign an undertaking with respect to payment of parkland dedication fees, and so that those have been taken care of as well. So with this agreement, they will satisfy all the remaining conditions of the consent approval. So this will get passed just in time, and his consent won't lapse.
Okay,
if
thank you.
council approves it.
Thank you. And the sidewalks are part of this as well. I know that the sidewalks terminate slightly to the south of this development.
Yeah, so they are extending the municipal sidewalk in this area. It's part of the it's within the urban boundary, and so the sidewalks will be extended as part of the road works.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else from members of the committee? There being none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. The next item is the health and safety policy statement. I understand that the new health and safety individual has been quite busy with policy development. We appreciate that. It's been moved by Councillor Papp. The committee recommend the council approve the health and safety policy statement appended here too, and that the previous policy S101-01 2017 be repealed and replaced with the 2018 statement. Questions, comments regarding that statement? Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess the broad question is, has this policy and all the other policies we're considering this evening been vetted by our legal team to ensure that that the wordings are correct and that the municipality is not putting itself at jeopardy by promising things that we may not be able to deliver?
Okay, thank you. Mr. CAO?
The short answer is no. It has not gone to legal counsel. However, the long answer is this health and safety policy statement is standard industry requirement, and it is something that the municipality is obligated to pass. So, I wouldn't have thought there was a need to have it looked at by legal. However, if council feels that's important, we can do that. But as far as this particular policy goes, this is standard policy throughout Ontario, and municipalities, along with any other business, are required to pass these these statements. So we're staying current with the legislation, and that's the intent of this.
Thank you. Counselor?
So this policy is standard across the province of Ontario? All the statements in here?
Yeah, I might ask the clerk or the fire chief to respond directly with the exact wording. However, those statements are reiterated, and they are required as of law. Now, I can't say whether or not word for word it's the exact same in every municipality. However, the policy statements are very clear in the intention of the municipality to follow them.
Okay.
Thank you. Want to add something to that, Madam Clerk? You're writing.
Yes, actually, Mario is reporting to the fire chief, but I would just state that he is the subject matter expert in terms of the health and safety requirements and the WSPS audit that we are working through. He has also presented all of the policies to the senior management team as well as to the Joint Health and Safety Committee, and he is considered the one with the expertise in development of these policies, and he has the resources to do that. Fire chief may have some additional information as well.
Thank you. Chief, anything further?
Mr. Mayor, no, I think the clerk said it quite nicely, so.
Thank you.
I'm not a expert on this stuff by any stretch of the imagination. When strong statements are made, I get a little concerned. So when you make a statement like the town of Pelham will ensure that the health and safety hazards are controlled and eliminated, I think we will attempt to ensure that they are, but like by making that statement, is that not, I think it's almost overstating what we can do.
I don't know.
It's such a strong
So-
statement.
Chief, are you able to assist the counselor?
Through Mr. Mayor, it's not, I say good enough, I guess, not accepted by Ministry of Labor for us to say that we will try. We have to assure that we take every reasonable precaution and circumstances right in the act, that we will take every reasonable precaution and circumstance to protect the worker. And through training, education, policies, directives, work step procedures, all those things we're going to be reviewing and putting in place, and we shall do that. It's not a we should, it's a shall. So there's the word try doesn't really work good with the Ministry of Labor at all. Okay.
Thank you.
And one last point, Mr. Mayor,
Okay, and then I see Counselor Durley.
that's fine. We make a statement that town of Pelham managers, supervisors, and other individuals who are responsible for directing work of others will be held accountable. Should we not also mention directors and the CAO as well?
I don't know. Who wants to answer that?
Through Mr. Mayor, we are all managers.
Oh, they're all viewed as managers.
All managers.
So we have workers and we have managers. So anybody that performs managerial positions or functions are considered managers, and people that do non-managerial or supervision are workers.
Okay, thank you for the clarity.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Durley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, in my other life, I was very active in health and safety, having taken several courses on it, and there are all kinds of green books that tell you exactly what you need to do for the construction, for office workers, for just about everybody, and these things are mandatory. You need to follow that. That's the guideline you need to use, and you have to ensure that you're following that. So the provincial legislation governing health and safety is very strict and must be adhered to, and I'm sure our staff is fully prepared to follow that. So that's, to me, having read through all this, it brought back some memories, some not so fond, but there are definitely all of these things that are completely necessary according to the legislation.
Thank you, Counselor. Any others? I just have perhaps a curiosity question, Chief. There's a comment here about the responsibility of all contractors working on behalf of the town of Pelham to implement effective safety programs, etc. All visitors shall comply. What happens if a contractor doesn't, for instance? Is it, and where's that piece of the requirement to report? I don't know if you have any so for instance, if a contractor comes in and isn't following health and safety procedures. Is it our duty to report? Can you just comment on that?
Other people's duties to report. So one of the gaps that we have identified with the town is that when we bring a contractor in to do work, we have to have an orientation package that he has to review before he starts work. And we haven't been doing this fully. We've done it like spotty. Community center is a good example, as they have Ball Construction is responsible for the health and safety and everybody else in that building. But if I show up as a contractor to do work in there, I just can't show up, walk in the building and start working. I have to report in the Ball. He has to give me all the safety lingo, garb. He has to orientate me to where the exits are and where our first aid stations are and all the postings and those types of things. And we're not quite there yet, but if you go into some, like if I went into General Motors right now to do some work, I'd have to sit and watch a half-hour video before I could even step a foot in their plant. So it's what they're focused on. We need to educate everybody before they can do anything. And if someone comes in and starts working and we don't do it, then we have a duty to report.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Anything else? So we're ready. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Papp. The committee recommend the council adopt the incident investigation policy statement here to attached, and that the old health and safety policy S 101-04 Bill 168 workplace violence harassment be replaced and repealed, or repealed and replaced. Questions? Councillor Papp?
Sure, just quickly, because just had recent experience with this. The reference, which is a delicate subject, is sexual harassment and violence. And I wondered if there should be a reference to Bill 168 and Bill 134. Or if that's included in the all-inclusive remark under occupational health and safety. I know in other previous employers, they specifically train all of the staff on those various aspects of that legislation. It's become more prominent. They say that word, but it may not be. Maybe it's already implied. Maybe it's there. I could be wrong. If it is, then I'm satisfied.
Okay, let's hear from the chief. Chief?
Mayor. So what's going to take place, what we're moving towards is we're developing these policies, and they're very broad. Not a lot of detail, because there is a lot of detail that's required, and it's constantly changing. So we're developing directives, work step procedures that spell out all the detail. So now that one of the newest on the harassment is Bill 132, which we're required to work with the employees. Right. If we start putting those numbers in this policy, and a new one comes in, then we got to rewrite the whole policy. So we make the statement that to cover the broad part of it, and then in the directive we will say we shall train our employees to 168, 132, 134, and educate them to what the requirements are.
So the subcomponent to that, through you, Mr. Mayor, the subcomponent is the operational procedures will be outlined as to how they would apply to various pieces of legislation or practices that address this particular concern or any other concerns.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm satisfied.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any others? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Kane. The committee recommend the council approve the workplace inspection policy statement appended here too, and that the old health and safety policy number 9, workplace inspections, be repealed and replaced. Questions, comments? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Durley that the committee recommend the council approve the hazard identification and control policy statement appended here too, and that the former health and safety policy number 4, hazard identification, be repealed and replaced. Questions? Comments? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Lane. The committee recommend the council approve the individual responsibilities and duties policy statement appended here too, and that the old, with the former health and safety policy number 2, duties and responsibilities be repealed and replaced. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor.
No, I don't mean to. Maybe you can help me, Mr. Mayor, through to the chief. Employees sometimes are now, if I understand, also include directors of the corporation. Does this imply that we also are responsible? I'm just curious, because in another venue, I was told that all directors of the corporation, beside the employees,
I'd have to get clarification on the actual.
The
because you don't
definition.
lead work, you don't direct
Yeah.
work. Through the, if you remember years ago, the Westray mine accident, that
Right.
came out, Bill 45, that came through, that held directors responsible for the corporation
corporation, yeah.
directly, because there was the mens rea and actus rea part of it, they
Right.
couldn't prove both, they could prove one but not the other. So that, in that sense, when they speak to that, directors are, if there's a criminal or someone gets killed or something, you know, you fail to provide and something serious happens, you could be held criminally responsible under Bill 45 in the criminal code. But as far as the Occupational Health and Safety Act, I don't believe that directors, since you don't lead work, are not considered under the management part. Represent the employer. So I will get that clarified.
yeah, the only reason I say is that for purposes legal, and I don't have the answer, we're considered as employees of the corporation. That's what I understand. So it'd be helpful if you helped through you, Mr. Mayor, to find out what exactly that applies to us.
Okay, thank you. So I've asked the clerk to take a note of that just perhaps be clarified
Yeah,
verbally at
just
council.
clarify what employees means.
Okay. Thank you. Are we ready for the next one, which is 4.7? It's moved by Councillor Lane. The committee recommend the council approve the transitional return to work policy appended here too, and that the former health and safety policy number 5P, return to work, be repealed and replaced. Return to work is obviously important. An accommodation there too. So there being no comments or questions, I'm going to call a question. All those in favor?
Yep.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Papp. I should say thank you very much, Chief, and others that have been involved in the formulation of the policy. The new staff individual that's helping with this, obviously an expert in the field, and we appreciate that. We look forward to that one item being clarified. But please pass along our thanks. It's been moved by Councillor Papp that this regular meeting of committee be adjourned until the next regular meeting scheduled for June 4th, 2018, following council. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.